Okay, today's lesson is 5.3. It is on stem and leaf graphs. Just a word here about how do we describe, how do we summarize our data. And stem and leaf graphs allow us to describe our data in greater detail than just looking at the mean, median, and the mode that we did in the last lesson. And there's 5 words that we want to highlight here that describe these. First of all, there's the idea of shape. So when we create a stem and leaf graph, it's going to give us a shape of the data. And you have 3 basic types of shapes that you should recognize. First of all, there's a symmetric shape where the data is arranged around a value, a group of values, yes, in the middle. And you can think of this as, for example, a center and then 2 tails. Okay, and the tail would be on either side. Otherwise, the data could be skewed to the left, which means that basically somebody has grabbed this tail and stretched it. Or it's skewed to the right, and same thing, except somebody's stretched that way. And that affects the way we interpret those numbers that are given to us. Outliers. Are there numbers, are there values which are very different from everything else, meaning they're so large or so small, they really skew the data. Context. What is the context of the information that we have given us? It gives us, for example, the axes that we are talking about. In our last problem here that we did in the mean, median, mode, it was salaries in a company, and that's important. Then finally, there is the centers, and the centers are the mean, median, and mode and range, and we can see those, some of those in our data sets when we put them in a stem and leaf graph. And then finally it shows the spread, which is the max minus the min. What is the largest value? What is the smallest value? So stem and leaf graphs are very useful in that sense. All right. So what is the leaf? What is the stem? Important that you have this down. The leaf is the last digit, and the stem is the rest of the number. So if I look at the year that we're in, 2020, this would be the leaf, and then the rest of it, 202, would be the stem. Okay. Another example would be, let's say if you're buying gas for $3.15. This is kind of weird because that decimal spot tends to fool us, and some people want to say 15 cents. But remember, it's the last digit. So in this case, the way we would think about this is we would have 31, and then 5 would be the leaf. Okay? All right. So remember, it's always the last number in the number, so to speak. All right. Here's a stem and leaf graph that is drawn out for us. We have, first of all, stems over here, 0 through 5, and then the leaves are each listed out, increasing to the right, as you go to the right. There is also a key in every stem and leaf graph. It shows you that the 2 and the 5 represents 25. We can see our smallest number here, 0.6, and we can see our largest number, 50. So things that we see in this list, again, the high and the low, we can see the middle value. The middle value, it takes a little bit of counting, but you need to know how many items are on the list. And we can see that there are 6 in each column here, so that's 12. And 5 is 17, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 31. So if there's 31 in my list, the middle number will be the 16th. Yeah, 15 below it, 15 above it. So then I just need to count to 15 spots. And you can count from the front or the back. So here I've got 2, here I've got 7, and here I've got 6. So 6, 5, 11, 12, 13. Now be careful, it's going to be in this row, okay? 6 and 5, 11, 12, 13. So then I'm going to count backwards, 14, 15. Okay, so there is the median value. Now I'm going to double check it. There's 3 on this side, 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. So there's 15 below it, and there's 15 above it. So the median value in this case is 24. All right. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make one. Here's a data set. It doesn't have any context. This data set is just the numbers. I want you to focus on how it works, how to create it, as opposed to trying to interpret what the numbers might mean. So it's important that you look through your data and first of all find the smallest data item and the largest data item. In this case, it looks like 10 and 60 are my 2 largest. That helps me understand where my stem is going to be. So let's come over. Again, if I look at each of these numbers, the 6 and the 0, there's the stem, there's the leaf, right? Stem and the leaf. So my stems are going to start at 1, and they're going to slowly increase. I need to make sure I include them all. All right. Now I'm going to include the leaves going this direction. Okay? All right. So to do this, start on one side. I'm going to start with the low numbers. And first of all, go through and underline all the ones that have a stem of 1. So I've got a 0 and an 8. And it's important that you list them out in that order. Right? Now I'm going to look at the 20s, and I don't see any 20s, so I don't put anything in the 20 list in the 2 stem. Now I've got some 30s. And we can't miss out on any of them. Oop, I forgot a 19 there. Okay, so I'll add a 9. I don't need to rearrange those. Now for the 20s, there was none, and 30s, looks like we start with a 30, and then we, so 0, 3, I should maybe cross off the ones I've done. So 0, 3, and then some 6s, looks like. And then a 7, an 8, and 2 9s. All right, so 37, 36, 37. Who did I have? 2 6s? Yep. A 7, 2 8s, and 2 9s. Okay. So it's tricky to do. Make sure that you don't lose any of your data items. I'm not going to finish this up, but you can see we just continue making our stem and leaf graph. You don't really need a title up here at the top, okay? But we just draw those graph out. All right. Now, last before I go on, there's such a thing as a split stem and leaf graph. So here is a stem and leaf plot showing you ages of people, 20 up to 54. And this data looks pretty centered, yeah? Notice how we have a large grouping in the 30s and the 40s. And this is one way to present the data. But if we create a split stem and graph, we see actually some more information that we don't see in this one. And what a split one does is it breaks the stem of 20 into two. Notice that there's two 30s and two 40s. And what it does is this first group is from 20 to 24. The second grouping is 25 through 29. Okay? And then 30 to 34. And then this group is 35 to 39. Now, in doing that, we can now see that our data actually has a double center. Yes, there's two, we almost call it bimodal, because there are two areas where they're very popular values to have, 35 to 39 and 45 to 49. So this helps us summarize the data, and it leads us to different conclusions because the split stem and graph allows us to see greater detail to my data. So make sure that pay attention to that word split if they include that in the directions that you then do that. Again, each of your stems need to be doubled up. Hopefully that makes sense. Good luck on your homework.